I'm going to talk about bromeliads. People love bromeliads because, well, they're very colorful. They're very pretty. So first of all, bromeliads are the Bromeliaceae family. So it's a family made up of different genus. But basically Tillandsia, air plants, and pineapples, they're in the bromeliad family. And a lot of times I get questions when people get them as gifts. And then they say, how do I get this to continue living? It looks like it's dying. So first I want to just say that ones that are sold for the sort of the gift trade, a lot of times they give them hormones, ethylene. Ethylene's sort of the death hormone in plants. Basically, it just speeds it up to a flowering process for bromeliads. And the problem with that is most bromeliads are monocarpic, meaning they bloom once, and once they bloom, the mother plant dies. But then by then, hopefully, you should have some little pups or side offshoots, plants growing. So you could say when you get a gift plant that, yes, you're getting it in bloom and the leaves are already colored up. So that ethylene should trigger side shoots as well. But sometimes what I see happening is it's just you buy it in bloom and then the mother plant dies for whatever reason and you haven't had a chance to get the side pup. So what I say is if you want a bromeliad, buy it in a nursery, more in the sort of the house plant or the landscaping section than in the gift shop section of, say, like your grocery store. So in the wild, bromeliads, for the most part, not all of them, grow up as epiphytes. And epiphytes grow up in the canopies of trees and they're not in soil. So bromeliads do have roots, very minimal root systems that help them anchor onto the tree and as well as absorb any rainwater coming down. Those roots are also probably going to collect any debris that falls down, or they're going to end up growing in little like chunks of the tree taken out where there is excess, basically compost, and the roots are going to be in that. Now what's interesting is, I'm just going to grab this one here, is the structure of the leaves. So the leaves are in, you could say, cup shapes. And the reason for that is when it rains, the rain gets held into those cups and that gives it an extra supply of water. And dead insects, live insects, bird poo, leaf debris will fall into there. And as it breaks down, it's an added food benefit for the plant. So if you get a bromeliad, how are you going to grow it? Well, unless you're in Florida, Southern California, or even parts of the Bay Area of California, for the most part, you have to grow them inside, at least in the winter. They don't like temperatures anywhere from below 50 to below. Bright sunny window, a south window and east window is ideal. They don't like really dark conditions. You know, they're high humidity loving plants, but most of the time standard house humidity works. You could always buy a humidifier, of course, if you want to baby your plants. Water. Now, that depends on what you're growing it in. So at the conservatory, we've tried multiple sort of planting media to grow them in. Right now, we have the majority in our succulent mix, which is a potting soil that has a lot of pumice and sand and a lot of fast draining materials. We've also tried it in just broken terracotta pot shards. And then we also use this expanded shell, which reminds me of sort of like Cocoa Puffs, and I have to try not to eat them when I see them. So really just a loose substrate, but of course if you have it in terracotta pot shards, or you have it in gravel, or you have it in bark, or you have it in the expanded shell, you're probably gonna have to water more than if you have it in a potting soil. If you have it in a potting soil, of course you're gonna wanna make sure not to overwater it because they can rot. You can water the cups, that's for sure. In the spring and summer, you can move them outside into dappled shade, but of course in the winter, move them in. And so what happens when they bloom? So first of all, a lot of them are grown just for their foliage. You can see this one right here that has beautiful foliage. Some are grown for their flowers and some are grown for both. A lot of times though, you'll be like, it's not flowering. But if you look in the center, you'll notice sort of this cap and of multiple tiny little flowers. So it's flowering. Other times they'll just be big giant spikes. So once the mother plant's flowering, just be prepared that it's slowly going to die down. It's not overnight, right? And just let it die down completely because any green material still on it, it's photosynthesizing, giving your plant energy. Hopefully you'll have little pups coming off to the side, at least one or two. Now, you could pretty much break them off at any size, but too small, you run the risk of not getting, one, any roots, or two, any good base to start roots on. And you could do it either way. You could wait until they get roots and then dig them out, or even break them off and start them like a pseudo cutting. So I'm actually going to show you this one here. I'm going to take it out. And you can see this is the mother plant. It hasn't bloomed yet, but that's okay. You could still take the baby plant off. In fact, it might help it bloom more because this one is taking energy from the mom, right? That's what happens. You sort of suck the energy out of your parents. So I am just going to rip this one apart. Very easy. It's a little messy, but there you go. This one happens to have roots. So I'm going to just directly pot it up into a potting soil because it has roots. I'm gonna center it. I'll water it in, of course. You don't wanna put it in a pot too big, remember, because excess moisture in soil can lead to rot. So that's one of them. Sometimes you need to stake them because they're a little wobbly because their roots just aren't that big and established. Now, if I were to take one, say in an instance like that didn't have roots and I just twisted it off, or in this case, this one was just growing up on a branch in the conservatory. You can see that it's really just stems here and no roots. And I'm just gonna cut it at the base right there. And because this one doesn't have any roots on it, I don't wanna put it in soil right away because it can rot and there's no roots there to take up the moisture. So in case like this, that's when I would start it in something very loose, and I would say expanded shell or even straight 5/16 inch red lava rock. That's where we start our a lot of our bromeliads that don't have roots. And then once it's in there, right, just sort of place it in there so it's firm. And once it's in there and starts getting roots, then you can move it into a soil. So that's really the nutshell of bromeliads. So just, don't buy them in the gift shop section. Just try to avoid getting them that are automatically in bloom already. Don't put them by heater vent. Don't put them right up against a cold window inside in winter. Don't let them get full sun during the summer if you don't have high humidity outside. And any potting soil really goes, just monitor your watering based on whatever planting media you use. So I hope you enjoy that.